we're talking when there's nobody here. But if anybody watching doesn't know who we are the English language assistants from this year. My name's Amber.
And I'm Olivia.
Yeah.
So.
And yeah, we just decided to make this podcast so you can learn a bit more about England, hear some natives speaking, especially because nobody who I've asked seems to be able to tell us apart. Our accents, everyone thinks we sound the same, which...
Yeah, so mainly we wanted to do this so you can hear our accents side by side.
Yeah.
And hopefully go, oh wow, they're actually quite different. Because, you know, equally we're not that good at telling German accents apart, because I've really never heard two German speakers with two different accents like side by side. So
no, me either. Like whenever they were talking about like the accents across Austria, I can never tell them. So I think if you're not a native speaker, it is quite hard to actually tell the difference. But you know, we are the perfect embodiment of the two different, because if you're going to split up England into accents, it's north and south. That's the way you're going to do it. The north has significantly more accents, I would say, than the south. And we've talked about this before, haven't we? Because you know, there's in London, there's like London standard pronunciation, there's your Essex and your maybe South London.
Kind of the majority of the South is split into standard British English, which is my accent, and then more regional accents, which are considered less standard. So you have like London is this split between people that sound like the Queen and people that sound very, very, very different.
Yeah.
But apart from that, so the vast majority of the south of England is covered by broadly the same accent. And then when you get up north, most cities have a distinct accent.
Yeah, so you know, you've got my accent, you've got the Geordie accent, you've got Scouse, which is from Liverpool, you've got Manchester, Leeds, Yorkshire is also in there, Durham, I suppose, a lot of different ones. So hopefully we're going to have guest
Why is it called Geordie if it's from Newcastle?
I don't know why it's
called Geordie?
I don't know. No.
The same with Scouse and Liverpool. I don't know what the connection is. We'll find that out.
Yeah, we'll find that out for some episode. But hopefully, you know, I've obviously got a lot of friends from Liverpool and from various points of the country. So hopefully some people will come on and we'll be able to discuss different topics with them, different accents. But I think especially in like these contexts as well, like we speak very differently to each other, don't we, than, you know, when we were in the classroom. I think it's a lot more formal, whereas this is a lot more informal. So it gives these all the chance.
Everything from accents to phrases.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, there's little things that I just nearly pulled those out my ear. There's very like idiomatic, I suppose, things that we use a lot with each other, isn't it? So hopefully you guys can learn something from it, pick it up, and also hopefully it's entertaining. Maybe we're not the most entertaining of folks, but hey ho, we'll give it a go. So why don't you
say phrases that, because obviously when we're speaking in class, I'm sure we're both quite careful with what we say, so that we don't use anything that's too colloquial or too idiomatic, so that you know, in case someone thinks, wait, what are you saying? So if we say things that you don't understand, you should absolutely send us a message and say, what does this mean? I heard you say this phrase. What does that mean?
And I'm thinking I might, depending on how time, as I don't know how it, like the logistics work, but I'm hoping that I might be able to write like subtitles or a transcript or something, so that, you know, people can actually read it if they want to, and then go through it a bit slowly if there's anything they don't understand. But yeah, hopefully. But how about you kickstart? You've been here longer than me, so how about you talk about, you know, because you had a nice experience here alone, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a great time. So I think, well, first it's worth explaining that, so we are both here via an organisation called British Council, which is partnered with the Austrian Weltweitunterrichten, and it's quite a common thing for students, university students in England who are doing languages degrees. So as far as I know, all languages degrees at universities in the UK, your third year is spent in the country or in countries that speak the language you are learning.
Yeah, so that's why we are here, pretty much. Yeah.
That's why we are here. Yeah, so we are both still in the middle of our university degrees, and it's quite a common thing for, you know, I know lots of people who are doing similar things in German-speaking countries, and then all over the world doing different languages. So
I think it's quite interesting as well, though. Like, I know people who don't study languages who were also going to do a year abroad, but I think in that context, it's more similar for, like, it's more common for them, I suppose, to go to like America or, you know, another English-speaking country. It's not so popular to go to like France or Spain or Austria or Germany, those sorts of countries, especially if you don't know the language. So yeah. But you get the choice as well, don't you? So you can choose to either do a teaching placement, which is what we both decided to do. You don't have to pick that. You can also go to like a university abroad and study, or you can, you know, do a work placement, like an independent one. But that didn't appeal to either of us. We wanted to do the teaching. So and I don't know, how come you picked, because basically we each have to do a semester, right? So Olivia did first semester, I'm doing second semester, and my reason for that is I also study Spanish. A lot of you might already know that. So I was meant to be in Spain first semester but couldn't go, so I was only ever going to spend one semester here. But you also only did one semester. But why did you want to do that again?
Well, I only picked one semester because at the point that you're sat in your uni room in England thinking, I've got to spend a year in a foreign country, and I decided to go to Austria, which I've somewhere I've never been to before. I thought, well, I don't want to commit myself to a whole year because I don't know what happened. This was before coronavirus was really a thing, so that wasn't really a concern in the back of my mind. But I just thought maybe I want to do a couple of different things. I now regret that. I now wish I had applied to stay here the whole year, but I'm here anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're still here, so
I'm still here anyway. So I'm still basically, I've done more than the first semester.
Everyone's
anyway.
So shocked you're still here, though. Every teacher or like anyone who I ask, they're like, "Oh, where is Olivia?" And I'm like, "She literally like right now, Olivia is upstairs. We are in the same building. So Olivia is just upstairs. So hence the matching wall art. We are.
Yeah. So if we've not mentioned this already, Amber and I are now housemates. We live
housemates, I suppose. Yeah, because we're not really in the same.
We're not flatmates because we have our own apartments, but where we live, there are 2 apartments. And so I live upstairs, Amber lives downstairs. But for the first 4 months of being here, I was here by myself, just living here alone. So we both live in Melk.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll rewind to I came here at the end of September to start in October. You know, in school, in person. That seems like a novelty.
I know, I was going to say, definitely weird.
Yeah, and anyone who I taught will remember me being introduced as the English student with the cast on her foot, because I broke my foot within the first week of being here. But at least it made me recognisable.
I didn't realise that was in the first week. I knew you broke your foot, but I didn't realise it was that early.
It's in the first. So I arrived in Austria on a Friday, and on Tuesday I was in hospital with a broken foot. Which is, you know, a way to kick off living alone in a foreign country.
Pun intended. Good one. Who got your food and stuff for you? Like, how did you manage to survive with a broken foot?
It was a fun time. So I was like the first few days with the tricky ones because I was on crutches for the first couple of days, but the family who owns these buildings were incredibly nice, incredibly helpful, and just looked after me. I was pretty much independent. Like once I'd got I didn't need crutches anymore. I just had like a boot on my cast. I also am very, very stubborn. So as much as lots of people would offer to buy me food and help me out, I will
hobble to the supermarket and get it myself.
Yeah. It now seems like so long ago. I really can't remember like the day to day. But I don't know what I did because I was still going into school. I was still traveling to Wieselburg, the other school.
You had to go up all of those steps to the Abbey.
All of those steps, yeah. So I would just walk incredibly slowly because going up and downstairs with the cast on is quite tricky. You
just got to sort of swing your leg up to try and get it up.
Yeah, so I would just kind of wait for all of the rest of the students to go by and then just be at the back, like slowly walking.
Like, it's all right, guys, I'm fine. Just leave me at the back of the pack.
Yeah, it's like just go past and let the injured person take their time.
Love that.
But yeah, so it wasn't, once you get, I don't know how people have had casting before, like once you get used to it, you just roll with it.
Yeah, it becomes habitual, doesn't it? You just sort of you don't realise you should actually be bending your foot when you walk. You just, what on earth was that?
Sorry, it's just a bottle fell over in the kitchen.
I don't know why I assumed someone was knocking at your door, and then I was like, well, no, because I would have heard somebody come in and knock on the door. That's so weird. But yeah, so how long did you do your face-to-face teaching for before they shut it down?
I think it went up to the October half term. So I call it the October half term because in England we have the October half term in the middle of your first term.
That's because our school starts. When did the school start? October, did you say?
I think beginning of September because we had a month before I arrived.
I was going to say
normally,
that they start about September for us, don't they? So then in October we have a bit of a break.
Yeah, but this was like a rogue thing this year that they were having a half term, and I think it was around then that everything went on. Like, it's honestly, it feels so long ago, I just can't remember it. But it wasn't long. I think I only had 2 weeks max at each school in person. So again, that made it easier with the class because I wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, true.
This is the Teams background that everyone has been.
Same for me as well. My dad's become like obsessed. If I'm sitting in a different position than this exact screen, he can automatically tell. He's like, "Where's the pattern on your wall? Where's it?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay," getting a bit attached to the pattern on the wall. But yeah.
Well, because I started doing my lessons from this chair. And then I just realised it meant that everyone could see the mess in the back of my back of my flat. So, you know, my laundry and everything else that I've just chucked on the sofa. So this felt, you know, this felt more professional.
I'm a bit terrified if I put that camera over there, they'll see the centipedes crawling out the sofa. Can you imagine?
Oh yeah, occasionally I have been joined by a spider just on the wall.
Oh, that would freak me out. Especially this is like the little corner as well where they come out, isn't it? So it's dangerous. We'll just hope that none of them appear. But yeah, how did you find working in this? I know you didn't do it for very long, but what was your, because obviously somebody's asked what it's like being a teacher, what's difficult about it, those sort of things. I mean, you did a lot of it online, so what was your experience like? It wasn't really traditional, I suppose, in the sense of.
No, for sure, because I mean, having those first couple of weeks being like the new language assistant means that you're often just going around and being introduced to different classes. You're not necessarily like teaching. And so it's worth pointing out that neither of us has ever done any form of teaching before. We are not teachers. We are not teacher trained. You know, this is and also it's quite strange for us because there's language assistant programs happening all over the world, and we both had language assistants at our schools in England. I definitely remember having them in my French classes and my German classes, and especially the one I remember most was in my German class at A level, so in our final years. And our language assistant was there mainly for speaking practice, and almost as a teaching assistant. So we would always go and do individual speaking practice or groups with this language assistant, or maybe they would sort of comment on lessons and things. So it was a real shock to suddenly be teaching lessons, because that's not at all what I expected a language assistant to do. I mean, I am so glad, because
it makes it a bit more interesting.
For sure, and it's, you know, it's something that I've really enjoyed, actually, you know, preparing lessons and thinking of imagining how these activities will work, and then trying them out in classes and thinking, right, that didn't work, I need to change this, and just getting to actually interact with classes more than just being used as for speaking practice. But it was definitely a surprise.
In the UK, native speakers, because I found that in my school they had language assistants who, I mean, we also went to very different schools in the UK, me and Olivia. So did you go to a private school?
No, so it wasn't a private school, it was a grammar school, which is the equivalent of a gymnasium.
Okay, so you went to a grammar school. I just went to a very underfunded state school, I suppose. And yours was all girls, mine was mixed, all that sort of stuff. But I don't know whether my school just didn't have access to them, I suppose. But we had students like us. So, for example, people who were fourth year language students who came in, who were getting their degree and would speak to us in German. But we didn't have natives. Like it wasn't like us here. Yeah. So it was very weird. I mean, I don't know whether they just didn't have access to them, or there's not maybe as many people wanting to come to the UK to do it as there is, you know, the need for them in other countries. I don't know.
Yeah, so that is true, because we'll almost never know how it works doing the reverse.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't know who, it must be organised by the British Council, but I don't know what organisations they partner with across different countries to allow for that. But yeah, the two that I can remember were definitely both native speakers.
Oh, wow. Were they both German?
No, one was in French at GCSE, but I don't remember her much. But so the guy who came into our German classes was someone I remember a lot, because of the fact that I was the only. So, language learning is really not a big thing in UK schools, because it's not something that's compulsory. Many people, I think it's now compulsory, you have to do a language to GCSE level, which is when you're 16.
Yeah.
But most people did a language just because they had to, and then as soon as they could stop learning languages, did. So my German class was very small, and I was the only person who wanted to do German beyond school. So
I mean, I've talked about
language
this a little
assistant
bit
was
as
like
well.
my personal resource, because my teachers were like, well, you actually need the practice in German like more than your classmates who are just doing their A-level exam. So he did like grammar practice with me and would correct exercises that I'd done and help me prepare for other exams I had to do for university, like to get into university, the university that I wanted to go to. So yeah, my experience of what a language assistant like was very different to what it's actually been like here.
Yeah, and even to mine, like even within the UK, like I remember, they would take us out for like individual speaking practice, but it was never anything serious, and they weren't there very often. Like we do like a decent amount of hours in the school. I saw them maybe once every month or something. Whereas I feel like a lot of the students here, a lot of the kids here see us at least, once every couple of weeks. But yeah, even different to my experience of them for sure. But yeah. I think being a teacher has been a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's also unusual for us is we've had the opportunity to teach everything from the first formers to the eighth formers.
Yeah.
And that was something that was unexpected. And I know that's not something that happens for all language assistants in Austria. So I'm so glad that I've had the opportunity to be in first form class where the exercises are completely different and what we're there for is completely different. And then being in an eighth form class where we're doing more like cultural lessons on particular topics.
And I find you do a lot more like of the actual teaching rather than just the speaking practice with the older ones, because they're going to understand us speaking for a long period of time, whereas the younger ones might not. But I agree, I think it's been really interesting. But I've been really shocked because there's been a couple of times, for example, people have said, okay, we want to do speaking practice with you and the students, and can you take them out, prepare them for that oral exam, whatever. So I'll go out, I'll sit there and I'll be waiting to give them feedback with my pen and my paper, and I'll be sat there trying to write feedback, and they're pronouncing stuff perfectly. Like there's nothing I can sit there and say, you're doing this wrong. And even, in the younger classes, you can tell them make mistakes, but the fact, every teacher says to me that, oh, you might need to speak slower, you might need to do this with them just because they don't understand as much. And every younger class I've been in, I'll keep going. I'm very conscious about going, do you understand? Do you know what I'm talking about? And they're all just sitting there going, yeah. And I'm like, I'm not even simplifying it that much. I'm just talking slower and like smaller sentences rather than big paragraphs. But the fact that at that age, I don't know, how old are the ones in the class one, like 11, 10, 11?
10, 11.
Yeah, like the fact that at 10 or 11, they can understand that much English. In year 7, which is when we are 10 or 11 in England, I would never have been able to understand someone who spoke that much German. It just blows my mind. And I think people in Julia's 1B class were telling me they could speak 4 languages. And, and you just sit there and you're like, you're 10 years old and you can speak 4 languages. That is absolutely, like, that is incredible. It just mind blows. But yeah, languages in the UK are not as valued, I don't think, as they are here, for sure.
No, for sure. And so you'd have, because here like English is a compulsory part of your curriculum, so you have there's so many English lessons a week. Like you'd have one language lesson in whichever languages your school taught. Some schools only taught one language, some taught a few, and you just have that one a week, so your progress would be much slower. So when I left secondary school, I was sort of getting towards being fluent, but there is no way I could have the level of conversations that the 8th formers here have, because
people have asked me incredible questions as well, because for the introduction things, you do the standard, hi, I'm Amber, I'm 21 years old, I'm from Newcastle in England, does anybody know it, all that sort of, the whole spiel. And then you'll ask them for questions, and the classic ones are, have you got any pets, have you got any brothers or sisters, and occasionally they'll whack a sentence, a question at us, and I just sit there and I'm like, you're like 15 years old. How on earth have you come up with this question? Like someone was asking us, why on an English banknote there's the 4 emblems when it says the Bank of England. And I was like, you're asking me questions I don't even know. Ask us about my pets. Ask us about life in England, but I can't answer the question about stuff. So I think that's for me has been the weirdest thing about being here, is like you expect to learn so much about Austria, and actually I'm learning so much about England from all the presentations I've got to do about stuff I didn't even know about England. Just quite cool.
Yeah. No, no, absolutely. This is a good point to mention. One of the key distinctions between the way that both of us speak is Amber refers to herself as us, whereas I refer to myself as me, and that is a classic like difference between most northern dialects of English and southern ones.
I mean, if you've been in any of my 20 odd introduction presentations, you've definitely heard us say that before, like all of the different pronunciation things, the different slangs that I use. I find that is and use are the two that I really don't even know that I'm saying, but they just come out. So it's the things that I have to warn people. I'm like, if I say this, that's really normal, this is what it means, because I don't say the classic Geordie like, oh, way I, very often, but you know, I'll say is and use quite a lot, so that's definitely it. But yeah, very good point to make. Just in case you're wondering what was going on. But what would you say, because obviously, you know, we both have really enjoyed teaching and doing the placement that we've picked, what do you think's been difficult about it? Like, what have you found hard about being a teacher?
I think it's just that suddenly being a teacher when you're not 100% expecting to be, and so that's so trying to sort of come up with lesson plans and think, you know, how do I do this in a way that is not just me lecturing?
And
here's
even
a topic I'm going to talk about. Exactly. So I think the coming up with ideas, which is something I really enjoyed, but you know, sometimes it's really difficult because the way that this placement tends to work is we will talk to your teachers and find out what the lessons are going to be about, and sometimes the teacher will have a particular topic in mind they want us to do, and sometimes it's more, you know, what sort of things would we like to talk about. But so, you know, sometimes I would sort of be given a topic and you think, right, okay, and then spend a good day or so trying to think of something. And especially with the younger classes, that's been the bigger challenge, but the more worthwhile challenge of thinking like, right, I need to, this is the information I want to get across, and I need to do it in a more fun and interactive way, in a way that's more sort of, so that the language is slightly more simplified. And so that I think has definitely been the challenge. And then also actually, you know, teaching, I'm not someone who really enjoys standing up and talking to a bunch of people, especially people that I don't know, and that is something that I have gotten far more used to. You know, when I started, I was so nervous, especially when you're nervous, you speak quickly. The whole point of this is we need to speak slowly. So the first few weeks of sort of adjusting to suddenly having lots of people looking at you,
who also probably don't understand 90% of what you're actually saying as well. But I think the thing I've found the hardest, I mean, obviously you did a lot more online stuff than me, but you know, I find it really hard because each class is so different. Each class has such a different level of ability. You don't know whether, you know, just because they're in 8th class doesn't mean that the students all understand so much English. You know, there'll be people in there struggling. And I think unless I can see people's face and I can see that they're just really confused or they don't know the answers, it's really hard for me to say, okay, I need to slow down, or know that I can keep this pace, they understand me, or I need to use like simpler words. And I think as well, it's really hard, you know, with this new online teaching stuff to get people to be interested in it. I know when lockdowns first happened and all this sort of stuff went online, I was one of those people who didn't turn my camera on and didn't really answer questions because I couldn't really be bothered. But I think, you know, now that I'm on the teaching side of it, I'm like, if I ask a question, please just answer. Even if you don't know the answer, just say, oh, I'm not sure. Like, you know, I find it really difficult when you're asking questions and you're trying to engage them and they just nobody wants to answer. That's probably
absolutely, because
the hard bit.
Teaching online has made me reevaluate what I'm like as a student, and so I'd like to think that we're in a slightly different position to perhaps the rest of the teachers, because we both do online teaching as a student with our universities and as a teacher, and so we cannot stress how important it is in languages to see your reactions, see how we're talking to. And absolutely, that is what I completely understand not sometimes wanting to turn my camera on for whatever reason. You know, I often rock up to classes in my pajamas, or you know, I've not brushed my hair, don't look that
I do that. I'll have the top on and the PJ pants on, you know.
Absolutely. But you know, for your teachers that have been teaching you for a long time, your teachers know what sort of level of English you're at, and they will know what you're likely to understand and not. Whereas because we've just come into this, we don't. So suddenly going from being able to look at a room of faces and judge, like, what am I seeing? Am I seeing confusion? Am I seeing understanding? Are people laughing? Because both of us tend to make quite a lot of jokes with what we say as we're teaching. And I also will ask a lot of questions that just require like a nod or a shake your head. And when you suddenly don't have any of that, you have no idea whether what you're teaching is landing. You're like, was this a complete waste of 50 minutes? I have no idea.
The thing I find the most awkward is if I'm like, do you know this word? And I just radio silence. There's no cameras on, there's no sounds, and I'm just like, it's okay if you don't understand, but please tell us, because I can't see. I don't know whether you do or not. Like I'll happily explain stuff, but I won't explain it if I don't need to. So if you don't understand something, I have to know about it, kind of thing. So yeah, I definitely find that funny. But I think what else since you've been here have you found, different, I suppose, from being at home? Like, what else about your experience do you think has been worthwhile to share even? Oh, I've just dropped something.
So I mean, just to say I'm going to charge my laptop, so one moment while I reach my charger.
Technical break. I don't even know where I've just dropped something on the floor and I've got no idea where it's gone. Oh well.
Yeah. This is something I'll have to think more about. But I mean, from a school point of view, I've definitely said this. Some classes, the structure of the school day, the way that the school day works is completely different.
So early, right? So early.
So early, and then these like 50-minute lessons, back to back, and then you're finished at lunchtime. Whereas just the whole school day in a UK school is so different, because in those breaks where you have break time, lunchtime, after school stuff, you have so many extracurricular things, so sports clubs. We had at my school clubs and societies for every possible topic and interest, and those are really a really important part of your school day. So we only had, most schools will have 5 or 6 lessons. But it's all those other things that are packed into a school day. You normally had assemblies in the morning, so most school days started with an assembly, maybe of your year group or the whole school, or for whatever purpose.
I remember we'd have
going on in the school day.
What did we have? Like, we had 2 lessons, then a 15-minute break, another lesson, then an hour's break for lunch, and then you had another 2 lessons, and then you could go home. So it was like 2 hours, 15 minutes off, an hour, then half an hour, and was it an hour, something like that? But 100%, the structure was so different. But I think as well, absolutely, for me, this experience has been so well because of how it actually, a lot of people are so shocked that I actually managed to get here, rightfully so. I travelled during like the peak of a global pandemic, not illegally, may I add. I was allowed into the country, but getting here from England was really, really difficult. So I actually had to go on trains, which, I'm from the very north of England. To get anywhere on the train in Europe, you have to travel to London, which is 3 to 4 hours for me on the train, depending on which train you get on. So it was 29 hours in total for me to get on the train. It was such a wild experience as well. I travelled through the night, and do you remember when I got here as well? I find it really funny that it was a Sunday, and I didn't realise in Austria everything's shut on a Sunday. So I rock up in the middle of nowhere with my suitcase on a Sunday, and we always say, don't we, that Melk is so quiet. Like, you think you know what quiet sounds like, and then you turn up at Melk and you can hear a pin drop inside the Abbey from the train station. It's so quiet. And you just hear me dragging a suitcase across cobblestones, making so much noise, and I didn't know where I was. So I'm like on the phone to Olivia going like, I don't know where I'm going, but Olivia couldn't meet us because I had to quarantine. So I'm like ringing Olivia like, please help me, I don't know what I'm doing. And then obviously I got in here, and I thought I was going to be so tired as well from traveling so much, and then I just went on an adrenaline rush, and I was just hyper, and I just couldn't sleep until the night time. So I think in that 48 hours of travel, I think I had maybe about 4 hours of sleep, and I was just running off pure adrenaline at that point.
Yeah, I absolutely cannot imagine what it's like to travel for more than a day. More than a day's worth of time.
Did I tell you about the time that I saw the woman nearly get her laptop nicked?
Oh yes, yeah.
So when I was on one of the trains, I think it was my train from Belgium to Cologne, and there was a woman got on, and a gentleman came on after her, and I just heard this like, hey, 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 and like this woman starts running after this man, and she's like, oh my god, that's my laptop. And the guy had gone up to the luggage rail, picked up our laptop and walked off, tried to steal it. And obviously she was just like, no, that's my laptop, and tried to get it. And that was crazy. That was definitely like the weirdest part of the trip, to be fair. But yeah, weird stuff happens on trains during the night across Europe. So
absolutely, because it's probably also worth mentioning that we had never met each other before.
Yeah, and so now we're spending what, like, every
now,
day.
Yeah, as much as we're now like a power couple,
we're a dynamic duo.
Yeah,
we
probably both knew that.
I had Anna, when I messaged Anna and I was like, hey, we were planning on doing this podcast. She was like, I love how you and Olivia do so much stuff together. You're such a dynamic duo. And I was like, we really are.
Yeah.
We really are.
Yeah.
Olivia's the person I ring at 1 a.m. when I find a house centipede crawling out my sofa or crawling out my wall.
That was something that was not fully advertised to us about Austria. You do not, as Austrians, you do not make enough of a point about the house centipedes.
Yeah.
Never encountered one in England.
In 5 days, we saw 8 centipedes in the house, and they're just disgusting. It was quite funny though, wasn't it? Us just standing at 1 a.m. trying to hoover up centipedes off the walls, because I'm really bad with bugs as well. So I was just like, Liv, can you do it? I can't do it.
Exactly. Really... So this is the kind of fun that goes on in our house. But yeah, so we probably both only knew that there was another language assistant. So at summer, we both knew where we would be going. So at summer, I knew that I was going to be doing this first semester, and you would know that you were going to be doing the second semester.
But
so
they never tell you this is the person who's going to be there.
You don't know anything else about it. So I just knew that there was someone else coming for the second semester.
And obviously we didn't really think we would ever meet, did we? Because,
no, because obviously I should have been going home.
And I was
so it should have been this perfect crossover of like me leaving and Amber arriving. But because I'm just sticking around for a bit longer, we ended up finding each other on Facebook, because Amber was like seeing if anyone else was going to be in around the area, and I was like, not only am I in the general area, I am in the exact town. And then also this other apartment that's with next to mine is free, so you ended up finding.
We always say, don't we? I say all the time, without Olivia, like, I don't know what I would do, just because, we eat together all the time, we go shopping, we go on walks all the time. There's any issues that there's been, like we were cooking last week or the week before last, and my entire power went off. It turns out my oven's broken, and trying to communicate that to my Austrian landlord who speaks no English with my very limited technical German was really, really difficult. But obviously, we kind of did that together as well. And so we spent so much time to think.
And I now can't imagine what it was like. I can't imagine what it was like doing 4 months by myself. I'm like, I don't know what I did for that.
Because as well,
I just didn't do a lot.
When you leave in like May time.
Probably about May, yeah.
Yeah, I've just got this whole month of just like, what do I do? Olivia's not here. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'll just be texting you like, I'm off to Spa. Do you want to come? I'm going to Spa tomorrow. Do you want to come? And then you just be like, I'm in Essex. No, I can't come with you.
That's a long journey. Yeah, but I told Amber this, and all my friends described us as Woody and Buzz from Toy Story.
From Toy Story.
Like I'm Woody, so I was just the old toy. I've been here for a while, and then when Amber arrived, Amber's Buzz. Amber's the new toy, and originally think, no, we're going to take over and we're going to forget about the old one. But actually, Woody and Buzz end up becoming a dynamic duo, and they go off and they solve problems and fight
the world together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, literally.
So that's how we currently are.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it, and I was talking about it with my friends yesterday. We had like a group FaceTime and saying just how different an experience this would have been being here alone. I can't imagine you not being here for at least some of this. So I don't know how, especially with a broken ankle as well. Yeah. You really didn't make it easy for yourself.
Yeah, but like, as much as I was here by myself, like I found that Melk is an incredibly welcoming town. It's very similar to the sort of town that I'm from. So Amber and I both come from like relatively small areas. So there have been so many people that have looked out, from the people that work in the chemist when I've gone into the chemist crying, to the people at the hospital where I'm a regular And I was recognised at the door as the person who's there, like.
And your ambulance driver works for the bank
yeah,
that you got
yeah,
an account
and then
in.
exactly, the person who drove the ambulance that like picked me up when I broke my foot and took me to ambulance to the hospital. Also was the person who I saw in the bank when I had to open my bank account. So but there's been loads of people in town who were always like willing to help me out. But having someone who's we're in exactly the same position here has been almost invaluable.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're dealing with exactly the same stuff.
I mean, we've done some traveling and stuff around Austria as well, haven't we? But I think every time we go somewhere, we're so excited to come back to Melk. Like, I think we've both really fallen in love with Melk, haven't we? And I think we're very lucky. We're in a gorgeous, like, old-fashioned building, with a gorgeous courtyard. When the weather's really nice, it's gorgeous out there. So yeah, I think we've both had such a positive experience so far. And we've got loads of stories to tell in these episodes. It's one of the whole reasons we came up. I'm intrigued, to be fair, that because looking at the list, there's a lot of people want to know about England, but not in the way that I thought they may want to know England. Like, they want to know about, like, inequalities, different social issues in England, which I would have thought people would be more interested in just knowing, like, about everyday life, about like schools there or food and traditions, like that sort of stuff. But yeah, very interesting. We've got some good ones coming up, I think.
So
I think I'm excited to get our guests on as well. I know George has definitely said he'll come on, and my friend George, who also is from Essex but has a completely different accent to Olivia, who was also from Essex.
So as much as Essex does have its own accent, whereas because I live in the part of Essex which is much closer to the London border than Amber and George, who is near the coast. Whereas I'm near London, so I don't have much of an Essex accent. I have this standard British English accent that comes from London, but I do still have some Essex parts. So I'm scared that when George comes on, I will just start copying his accent. Everyone will be like, "Where is Olivia gone?"
But that's cool, because I mean, I've also said to my friend Rachel and Eve, they have very, obviously I've got a Geordie accent, but they have very, very broad Geordie accents. It was really funny yesterday. I messaged everyone. I was like, "Hey, would anybody be interested? We need some help with this thing that we're doing." And Rachel was like, "Yeah, but because the message said, who, like, Eve, Rachel, you have really strong Geordie accents. Would you be up for doing it?" And Rachel was like, "Amber, I don't speak any German." And we were all like, "What?" Rachel, I think it was Molly, was like, "Rachel, she wants the Geordie accent. She does not want you to speak German. Like, it's fine." Which was really funny. But I think a couple of them will come on. I think I've managed to rope Donal into coming on as well, to maybe talk a little bit about Ireland and any traditions like that. And hopefully, I know my sister's boyfriend obviously is Scottish. Hopefully he can come on, maybe talk a little bit about the Highlands and about Scotland as well. Because other than that, I don't think I know any other Scots. I don't know. Do you know any Scots?
Like some family friends, but it would
maybe be a bit awkward inviting the family friends.
We just want to get Lorraine Kelly.
Yeah.
We're going to start doing like celebrity guest appearances. Let's go.
And I think since we're so famous and so well known, I think they'll definitely hop on with us as well.
So Lorraine Kelly is like one of the most famous newsreaders in the entirety of the UK.
I would say, if not the most well known. I think if you said Lorraine TV. If you said Lorraine Kelly, everyone knows pretty much.
She's the kind of person everyone wishes was that you want her to be your grandma. And she's very, very, very Scottish. So
I love a Scottish accent, though. I really do. I love the Scottish.
We'll send her an email, but it's probably unlikely.
Probably unlikely. Yeah. No. Hopefully Andy will come on. We can talk to him about certain issues. I think it would be good as well. Like, if we're doing certain topics about like feminism and stuff. I know I follow some people who I went to school with, for example, who are really not hardcore feminists, but they really, really align themselves with feminism. And maybe they would be willing to come on, talk to us a little bit, because I mean, the thing with doing social issues is I'm not really clued up on them. I don't really know a lot about feminism. I don't really know a lot about
my opinion on most of these topics is not going to be massively insightful.
Yeah, and especially issues like race as well. As two white British women, we don't really have not that we don't have an opinion on it. I think we do, but our opinion isn't the one that matters. But I also think where I grew up in England isn't very diverse, so I don't really know a lot of minorities who would maybe be willing to come and talk about their personal experience. I don't know whether London's any different, a bit more multicultural, maybe.
So especially from where I went to school was a lot more diverse, because they were on like the London border, so we had lots of people came to my school from actually like within Like the London border as opposed to the Essex border, and those areas are a lot more diverse than tiny villages in the middle of Essex.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Newcastle.
Yeah, like where I live, it's literally old white men. that's the extent of the people in Newcastle.
What my village is as well. It looks like a retirement village because it's just all older people.
Love that. Well, I was thinking as well, because I think, obviously we've got this video, and I've had a couple of people say that they would be really interested in getting involved in discussions, things we're talking about. They'd love to be able to comment on it. I think it would be a bit awkward to do that via Teams, because there's so many channels, you can't start discussions with everybody. If a student from class 5 wanted to discuss something that someone from class 7, it's a bit awkward. So I was thinking we could do, we can post this on like an unlisted YouTube channel. That way everybody who's watching can comment on it, and they can get involved in discussions. They can like it, let us know what they're enjoying about it, and it's all sort of in one place rather than in 17 different teams channels.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. And also then students are then free to like go and watch whichever ones they want to.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, obviously I think with the unlisted ones you need the link to them, but I'm gonna I can post the links in the channels, but it just means anyone who's commenting can do so on the channel. We can see everybody's comments, we can reply to them, we can get involved in more discussions. I mean, please if there's something, I know today's one is sort of been a bit more of an introduction one. We've not really chatted too much about a certain topic other than our experience here and maybe something about some differences in England, but please get involved in discussing. Let us know, comment and let us know what you think of the episodes. If you think there's anything that you would like to see us do, you don't just have to do that in the Teams chats. You can obviously engage with that on the channel as well. Obviously we're not going for millions of subscribers or anything. You guys are our target audience. This is designed to help you learn a little bit more, help with your listening comprehension. So please use us to the best of your advantage. Please let us know what we can do to make this more entertaining for you or anything like that as well. But yeah,
absolutely.
I think this episode's getting a bit long now, so I think we might have to cut this one and then and do another one.
But I'm also hungry, so I'm gonna go and have lunch.
True. But yeah, thanks so much. I know it's so weird like saying it because there's nobody actually here, but thank you to anyone who did decide to actually watch the whole thing. I know this one's been a bit long. Yeah, so thanks for anyone who is watching. Like I say, please get involved in discussions. You don't have to obviously say anything mind-blowing or anything massively insightful, but just let us know if you enjoyed it, if there is any topics or questions you would like us to ask, and we can answer them on the comment section as well. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. You want to add anything?
See you next time.
Yeah, thanks so much for watching.